Hello, y'all. David Burke Family Farms. We're on one of our first episodes of Fig Hunters. Now, if the name's already taken, we'll of course change it. But this is Fig Hunters, brought to you live. Now, what this is one of our first fig finding trees. It's in a very, very arid place. If you look around, there is not water in sight. We're at a higher elevation. I can tell you we're up pretty high. It's very sparse. This is a cattle ranch. You see the chutes back over here. You know, this is just one of their pastures. So you can imagine this tree, how this tree first began. Was a couple old cowboys sitting around, drinking a beer after work, munching on what they had in their pack. It might have been a fig. Now, here are just two. See, it's kind of weird how these are. Well, let's get up close real quick, and I'll show you some fresh ones here. Here we go. See, it's not, I mean, I'm running into, it's like almost like an apple top or a persimmon that, you know, right here is separate on, and this is typical. So you have a strawberry tasting flesh in the almost, I would say, ripe, the beginning of ripeness. We're picking a few a little bit early. When you get the real overdone ripe, you have it starting to ferment like just pure jelly inside. Very sweet. Now, these have what appears to be an open end. When you open it up, it actually was closed. But what you see typically with these is like a red flower on the bottom. So, our camera lady, Priscilla Burke, is tasting it right now. Again, they're very pretty. I mean, here, I gotta show you some of these. They could be used for decoration. Oh, they're not very small. Very thin skin too, as you see. A nice, fragrant, very fragrant. When we tested these in the earlier stage, about 2 months ago before this main crop came in, they reminisced of a pear. So this is a reminiscent of strawberry, you're saying, Priscilla?
And citrus.
And citrus. So, that's it has a very nice contrast to that yellow and then the red flower center. So here we go. Come on in. So you all know in Fig Hunter, I love going inside with the canopy. This is my favorite part. I mean, some of y'all have different parts of this that they're favorite. A lot of you love the tasting, the flavor, the feel, the texture. You just love figs. I'm an honest man. I love fig jam. I love fig products. I get figged out. Fresh figs. My palate gets blown out. So we're always looking for sincere testers, reviewers. My wife and my kids, I'm lucky, they don't suffer from that. So like I said, they're not very big fig. Typically, I use my thumb because my thumb's never going to change. I've got big thumbs. To show you roughly the size, that is roughly 1 inch by 3/4 of an inch, maybe 1.25 inches there. So that kind of shows you the size of that fig. It's not a very good fig. Big fig. Haha, I said good. It's delicious. But you always hear about dynamite coming in small packages. Well, these figs, they plumb got the taste. So we get in here, and a lot of beer bottles. Like I said, I mean, this is the way they started. I initially thought this tree might be a little bit older, but now I'm starting to wonder. This is actually a seedling that we're looking at right here, we're picking off. The main trunk is in the back, so we'll have to work our way around to get to that. But you all can imagine the boys after work sitting here having a couple figs. Well, they've been leaning against that fence back over there because that's what you do. You get a little shade. This is west behind me, so the sun's going down. They're leaning against that shade, drinking a couple beers, throwing them out in front of them, having a couple figs, throwing them on the ground. And then bam, we've got some seedlings. Well, we're gonna kind of find our way back through here, y'all, and take a look. I've got to make a little path here for our beautiful camera woman. So, if you haven't figured out through What the Fig or any of the other fig groups on Facebook, I'm in construction. I'm a pile driver by trade. I'm a new operating engineer, and I was a carpenter before that. I build stuff. Hands down, I can tell you structurally if it's sound. And I can tell you a little bit about materials. My father, he was a restoration carpenter. By that I mean he dealt with painted ladies and abandoned construction, craftsman construction, provincial, I believe it was called. Even well, now the 50s are considered somewhat of a ideal build. I'm rambling. What I mean is I can look up this fence and I can tell you something about it. So let's get over here and get close. You see this? What you call would be a 2x4. Well, remember we talked about how big my thumb was? My thumb right there width, a little bit less than 1.5 inches. Most wood you buy today is 3.5 inches by 1.5 inches, what they call a 2x4. This is a full 1/2 inch smaller. So that makes me think this might be an older fence. Now, the nail heads here, man, they use big freaking spikes in this. So, they're not too old, but they're ring shank too. You can see in the back here. I'm thinking this fence was built in the 70s. 60s or 70s possibly. That's where I'm going with it. Back when they had the means to go buy good material, unlike now. The fact that it's not rotted away, you know, is pretty good. Well, enough of that. Miss Camera Lady, would you hold on to these figs here? Okay, you're gonna have to stand back. It's gonna get ugly. Quick and fast. You pull your teeth out, it's quick and fast. Always. The Band-Aid's quick and fast. So I'm gonna let Miss Camera Lady here, Miss Priscilla Ann, she's gonna come right over here. She's gonna zoom in on me, and I'm gonna hobble through here because what I'm calling out there as a newer fig, I can tell by the trunk in here that I've never seen this far in is actually an older fig, which opens up a lot to the ass. Yeah, this is my favorite spot. Just a boy playing in the trees. And I used to love, well, I still love climbing up heights, hanging out. So what we're looking at right over here is, I like to call it the root stock, right? Going over to it and see if I can get a better spot. Now, in measurements, when I talk about measurements, a lot of the time, yes, I have tape measures and all that stuff. Heck, I got a laser device that tells you how far you are to me if I pointed at you. And I use my body parts. It's simple, it's fast. I know that's about 1.5 inches. You know, I know that's over 4 inches wide, almost 5 inches. I know from the tip of my fingers to right here is roughly 3 feet. And so where I'm going with this, I'll use that and the fact of my craftsman skills to tell you how wide the diameter of this root ball, exposed root ball, because you can see some of it. Oh, wow. So I'm not trying to find stuff here. Well, yeah, I am. I grew up with my grandmother, Barbara Ruth Burke, and she was an avid historian, bottle digger, gold miner. She was a gung-ho, can-do woman. And every time she drugged me around, I'm gonna have to bring this close to the camera, I would learn something. Kid, sometimes you kept your mouth shut and you just listened. Now this thick glass, right at the rootstock. Now this isn't something you see. It would have been the bottom of a bottle or a jar, but this isn't something you'd find in this century. What I'm trying to say is I'd put my money on it, if I was a betting man, that this tree originally came from the 1800s. Yeah. Oh, in case y'all didn't know, we deem this tree Three Sisters. That means, well, my mom, Priscilla April, she had 2 sisters. And so there was 3 sisters altogether. Darlene Edwards and Taffy Donaldson. Unfortunately, my Aunt Dara is no longer with us, but my Aunt Taffy's still kicking and being ornery to my Uncle Richard. And my mom is still healthy as a goat. She's gonna live to be 110. 3 sisters. Well, I've got 3 daughters. So I've got Kayla Annette, I've got Avine Olivia, and I've got now Priscilla Evelyn. And I know you're catching on here because you guys are an avid listening audience that I've just named 3 Priscillas. Yes, there are 3 Priscillas in our family. Grandma, the wife, the mother, and the daughter. And the funny thing about them all, it's all the youngest. The last child of every generation has been named Priscilla. We're about girl power because there's nothing you ladies cannot do. That's the reality. I don't like to tangle with my wife any more than I have to because she's just that mean. But she's could be that sweet too. So before I get myself in too much trouble, I'm just going to shut up. What I am saying here is there's 3 Priscillas, there's 3 sisters. That's what this tree was called when I first saw it. It just hit me, it called to me. There was 3 decent sized trunks that I could see from the roadside. I didn't come in this far, to be honest, but hey, 3 sisters that fit. And as of right now, it's 3 sisters unknown. So, can you see me, Miss Camera Lady? What do I got here? So we're looking back here. Now we've already talked about how arid this condition is. It isn't, prone to have a lot of rain up here. I'm not saying we're in the high desert. What I am saying is that, well, it's hot. And there just ain't a lot of rain up here. So, the slow growth, now this is a dead branch here, happens. Well, typically, you might see this much in a year of new growth. And in between the nodes, might have wider spacing. Here we go. Here's one right here. Here, this one's a little bit wider spacing. Ooh, this one's dead, but see how wide it is? And then you got stuff like this, where you got dry years. So that's good. This tree is drought tolerant. That is a winter chicken dinner. But you do gotta water it, hey, once in a while. Not like these old cowboys did, and pour their beer out. Oh. So we've got a little small grove here, and I called it 3 Sisters. As you can see, it's a lot more, but it really reminisces me of a family unit. You might start out with one, pretty soon you add your friends, you got everybody together, and you're pretty large. You take up the world here. They're all very similar. That just is, I know my daughter's just gonna love this. I can already picture him. Daddy, daddy, daddy. Look it's a flower on the bottom of my fig. So I've brought this up. It tastes like strawberries with a little bit of citrus. The longer it ripens, the more sugary and it tastes even dehydrated. It dehydrates very well on the tree. We've run across some. It has a fig sweetness. It actually gets a little sweeter as it dehydrates. But what it really does, and I mean, these aren't the greatest examples, but here, like I said, these big palms of mine here, is it really the contrast between the yellow green and that rich magenta red on the bottom and a flowery pattern is great. I mean, that I can think of just decorations on food. I'm definitely going to take this and show it to one of our friends who's an executive chef. Yes, hi, yes. I really think you can use this. Yes, the presentation is just fantastic. The taste and everything that goes with it, girl, you're gonna love it. Okay. Oh, in almost every video, we do a little hit. Tonight, we're sporting Miss Priscilla Ann. Can I have our figging knife that we have tonight? So I want to talk about this, and then we're going to check out here. Now this is a Benchmade. Sorry, you get mad at me. I always say Benchmark because I like to hit a benchmark. It's a beautiful knife. A company made in Oregon. Very stout. By stout, one of my friends up there, Mr. Dan Miles, crane operator, he says, "Hey man, I seen this knife go through a door in a car." I said, "What the?" I didn't want to ask him what he was doing stabbing his car with his knife, but the blade didn't break. For a pile butt, I said, that good enough for him, good enough for me, because gosh knows I can break damn near anything. But that's how you learn how to fix it. So tonight comes in a multiple couple of colors. Believe this was selling for $75 when I bought it from my wife. Mel Peru design. You could probably get it on their website. It's what I like about it, I carry a black one. It's very small in my palm. The blade, again, isn't too long. Very clean action. It's got serrated if I want to take cuttings. It's got a nice, it keeps a very sharp edge. I've got to be really gentle if I want to just sit here and taste a fig. Just sit here. See, look at that. You're not looking at that. See, I'm not messing around here how sharp this is. And I'm not messing around how beautiful that inside is. And that contrast. We talked about that contrast here. This fig tree. Three sisters. Oops. Is very, see, look at that. Look at this knife. Look at this knife. Benchmade, Oregon. Great people up there. You buy a knife, you have an issue and want to have it resharpened, you ship it to them, they'll resharpen it. They stand behind their products. They're wonderful. Look at that, pretty. I mean, that looks like a flower. You know, I can think you have those, you have a couple pieces of cheese, maybe a couple crackers, some nuts. Really, the presentation of this fig, without it being very large. You see the figs out there. I've seen ones the size of my hand. That just takes too much. It's like dynamite. It packs a punch and a small, flavorful package. Oh, one extra trick. I'm going to hand this to the camera lady because you got to feed her. See, that's our deal. She feeds me, and when she's filming, I feed her. So I taught, this is my wife's knife. Like I said, a beautiful blue color. Ooh. And I said, hey, we're doing some cuttings. Get some cuttings, honey. She's trying to saw. And it's got a nice, I mean, a very nice, sharp. We're just seeing how sharp this is. I mean, but this last little thing here. She goes, what do you know of cuttings? How am I going to cuttings? I'm trying to cut. She got her hands full. Because we were picking figs, right? We ran out of pockets, we ran out of shirt space, and she's trying to get a couple cuttings. And I said, that's not how you do it. So she was about to drop it. You take it, well, this knife, and you do that. You just close it. This knife is so sharp. Not only do you have a knife, you got a pair of shears. Benchmade, Oregon City. You tell them the Burke Family Farm sent you. And thank you very much. Have a good night.